Have you ever felt nostalgic for a place you've never been? For a time you've never lived through? Japan, the 80s and 90s? Just hearing that brings on a different feeling, as if we lost something important along the way. And it seems we really did lose something. This was the time when everything seemed so much better. The arcades, the karaoke bars, the city pop, the economy booming like never before. The anime that shaped entire generations. Japan at that time wasn't just a country, it was the future. But it seems that all of it vanished at some point. But today, we are going to bring back that moment in history. Today, I'm going to show you what it was like to live in Japan's golden era. A time that might never return, but that you need to know about. I invite you to embark on this nostalgic experience. There's a lot here that will impress you. So stay with me, get ready, because now we're going to travel through time. Imagine waking up one morning in 1988, going to work, and at the end of the year, receiving a bonus of 3, 4, sometimes 6 months' salary. It wasn't like winning the lottery, it was relatively normal. This was Japan in the 80s and 90s. The economy was booming, everyone had money in their pockets. And more importantly, everyone felt they were building something together. The Japanese middle class was at its peak. Lifetime employment was very common, not an exception. You joined a company and knew you could retire there, Lee. There was security, a future, real plans. The purchasing power of the average Japanese was very high. Imported products that were once luxuries, unattainable, were now accessible. Cutting-edge technology meant there was something new every month. Traveling abroad was becoming more and more common. But do you know what the best thing about all of this was? The optimism. That feeling in the air that the country was making it, that all the efforts of the previous decades had been worth it. Japan was no longer just a country recovering from the war. Japan was the future. The nights never ended. 6 p.m., you leave the office, but the day is far from over. The culture of the nomikai was very sacred. Going out with coworkers after hours wasn't a tedious obligation. It was a ritual. It was where real friendships happened, where office hierarchies disappeared for a few hours. The streets of Shinjuku, Shibuya, Roppongi were vibrant. Izakayas packed on every corner. And of course, karaoke. Karaoke wasn't just entertainment. It was almost collective therapy. You grabbed the microphone, sang that song everyone knew, and for a few minutes, you were a star. It didn't matter if you sang well or poorly. What mattered was the moment, the connection there. After karaoke, there were the discos. Roppongi was the right place for that. Lights, music, people from everywhere. The dance floor was always crowded. People's energy was high. It wasn't about posting photos or flaunting your happiness on social media. There weren't even proper cell phones back then. It was about being there, living that moment. And the night only ended when the first morning train started running. Until then, the city was yours. Tokyo never slept, and you didn't need to either. There was a certain freedom in all of this. A feeling that life wasn't just one life, but a life of life. There was a certain freedom in all of this. A feeling that life wasn't just about working and sleeping. Yes, they worked hard. But there was life after that. They felt they were part of something bigger. The golden age of arcades. Imagine walking into a place where every corner has a different light flashing. Each machine has a sound, competing for your attention. And there's a lot of people. And everyone is there for the same reason, to play something. Street Fighter II, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong had many classic titles. But it wasn't just about the games, you know? Sure, the games are a big part of it. Games that today are legendary for us were new back then. But the arcade was a meeting place. It was where you met your friends after school, where you made new friends because you both were good at the same game, where there were tournaments, friendly rivalries. There was practically nothing bad about this experience. It was all very good things. And in Japan, there were arcades everywhere, in neighborhoods. There was at least one, Shibuya, Akihabara, which are the most famous nowadays, had entire buildings just for arcades, several floors, each one with a different theme, with a different type of game. The sound of the coin going into the machine, that moment of anticipation before the game starts. You can't replicate that at home. You can't feel that playing alone online in your room. You can recognize that this is an experience we won't have anymore. At least it's not easy to replicate it. The arcade was physical, it was real. You were there, sweating, with your crowd, with your friends. That was the magic of it. It was really a culture. It was where Japanese youth gathered. And this is something that has been left far behind. And while all this was happening on the streets, something was being born on the screens and pages. 1988. Akira hits theaters. And it's no exaggeration to say that this work here changed practically everything. The animation, the story, the cyberpunk aesthetic. The world had never seen anything like it. And it wasn't just Japan that noticed. The whole world looked and thought, wait, so anime can be like this? The following year, Dragon Ball Z begins, and the truth is, there's no way to measure the impact of this work.
Doing is to go even further beyond!
An entire generation of people, who might even be watching this video right now, grew up waiting for the next episode, trying to do a Kamehameha in real life, during school breaks, discussing who was the strongest. Dragon Ball is one of the most impactful works worldwide. You also have Sailor Moon, which arrived in '92 and also revolutionized things in a different way. And you had magical girls who also fought and had all that action. Girls who were real heroines, with their own complex personalities and real-life problems. Something you didn't see much of until then. And Studio Ghibli was creating masterpiece after masterpiece. My Neighbor Totoro, Grave of the Fireflies, and then Princess Mononoke. Films so incredible that they weren't just for children, nor just for adults. They were for everyone. They were true art. In fact, if you're not familiar with the films from this studio, you're missing out on a lot. Manga was also everywhere. Newsstands, convenience stores, specialty shops just for that. You had titles for every taste, for every audience. Reading manga on the train was absolutely normal. From salarymen, who are like the workers of Japan, to students, everyone had a favorite manga. Japanese TV was also experimenting. J-dramas exploring sensitive themes, shows mixing Japanese humor with social critique. You had all this either being born or gaining a lot of fame at that moment. And in music, you had various cultures that were exploding, like Visual Kei, with bands like X Japan filling stadiums, creating a very different aesthetic that mixed rock with theater. And the craziest part is that at that time, it wasn't just about quantity, even though the amount of things produced at that time was enormous. But what mattered more here was the quality. These were works that are still worldwide references today. Works that shaped not only the culture of Japan, but the culture of the entire world. I'm sure part of this affected your childhood, your life here. And if you were living in Japan at that time, you weren't just consuming entertainment. You were witnessing history being made. You were seeing things being born that would impact the lives of many people to this day. So, congratulations, you're a very lucky person. City Pop, the perfect soundtrack. You're probably listening to it in the background, right? If there's one thing that captures the essence of this era and sums up everything we're talking about, it's Japan's city pop. Imagine driving through Tokyo on a summer night, windows down, warm breeze coming in, and the radio playing that perfect song. A distinctive bass line, shimmering synthesizers, very smooth vocals telling stories about love, urban life, about savoring the moment. Tatsuro Yamashita, Maria Takeuchi, Junko Ohashi. These names might not mean much to those unfamiliar, but they were the 80s in Japan. They shaped the lives of millions. This wasn't a niche thing, not just something for a small group of people. City pop played on commercial radios, in stores, cafes, clubs. It was the sound that defined Japanese life. Plastic Love, for example, is a song that endures to this day. And if you look up the lyrics a bit, you'll realize it's exactly about that. The craziest part is that decades later, we still haven't gotten over it. City pop became a global phenomenon again in the 2010s, 2020s, and even now. People who weren't even born in the 80s are discovering these songs and feeling that strange longing, that nostalgia we mentioned at the beginning of the video. Because this sound captures something we've lost, that optimism, that vibe of life being both light and profound at the same time. City pop is proof that music isn't just sound. It's a feeling, it's a memory. It's a portal to a time we romanticize. Because honestly, it seems like things were more beautiful that way. It seems like we've lost a part of that. I don't know if you can understand me here, but comment below what you think. Technology that seemed magical. Now think about it with me. Nowadays, we have a cell phone that literally does everything. Seems normal, right? But in the 80s and 90s, we had this. Seeing this for the first time was pure magic. It's funny too, because that's where the meme of the monkey listening to music came from. This was a Walkman commercial. We can't even begin to grasp how revolutionary this was. It was portable music. Music you could take anywhere, on the train, on the street, in your world. It was your music. That was the promise. You chose the tape carefully, put on the headphones, pressed play, and that was it. The outside world kind of disappeared. It was just you and the music. This might sound silly to our younger generation, who have access to much higher quality Bluetooth headphones and even music platforms like YouTube Music or Spotify. But back then, this was out of this world. And Sony didn't stop. Every year there was a new model, thinner, lighter, with more features. There was auto reverse, so you didn't have to flip the tape. Each innovation seemed unbelievable. It was like you were walking towards a better future. I just wanted to stop here to show a comment I saw in a Walkman commercial video, which was from Kim Jong-un, saying he thinks this is very technological. And someone commented below, North Korea should invest. 4 years ago. Then we get to the 90s and see a Discman, portable CDs, digital quality without tape hiss. It seemed like something out of a sci-fi movie. But it was there. You had access to it. But it wasn't just about the audio. Akihabara was like an amusement park for tech enthusiasts. Cameras, computers, video games, robots. There were things you didn't even know you needed until you saw them. People could touch, try out. It wasn't just about buying, it was a new experience. The world was experiencing it for the first time. And every month, there was something new. A portable mini TV, pocket electronic translators, watches with calculators, Tamagotchis that made you feel responsible for a digital life. Each product felt like it was coming from the future. And here, we arrive at the era of video games. It's at this time that we get to the Game Boy. And it revolutionized portable gaming. The Mega Drive, the Super Famicom, which were competing in the market. Each release was a new event. You'd have lines of people at stores trying to get the first model. It wasn't just the technology itself, it was what it represented. Each new thing was proof that Japan was moving further into the future, that it was leading this technological race, and more importantly, this was accessible to people. It wasn't just for the rich. The Japanese middle class could buy these wonders. They could be part of this revolution. Japan wasn't just using technology from the future. They were creating the future, and every Japanese person knew it. They even felt proud of it. It changed the way people dressed, even how they expressed themselves daily. A whole bunch of unforgettable urban aesthetics emerged here. The 80s and 90s felt like the setting of Blade Runner, except it was the real-life experience of millions of people. There was a neon light on every corner, not the more minimalist type we see today. It was exaggerated, chaotic, red, blue, pink, green, all trying to grab your attention. And somehow, it worked. You had gigantic, creative, bizarre ads, bright billboards, often completely nonsensical. A gigantic cat waving its paw, a 10-meter-tall whiskey bottle, An ad that made you stop just to look. The vending machines, like those from Dohan Bike, had everything. They had hot coffee, soup, umbrellas, toys. If you needed something, there was probably a machine for it. There was a lot of visual pollution. It was even mesmerizing in some cases. Compared to today's Tokyo is much more organized, much cleaner. And that chaotic energy of the 80s never came back. I know there are many people who love this part. If these car names give you goosebumps, I know you'll get it. This was the golden era of JDM, Japanese domestic market. Cars that were affordable but incredible. Turbocharged engines, rear-wheel or all-wheel drive. Designs that are still copied in some cars today. And the best part, you could modify them. The tuning culture was exploding. Every owner put their personality into the car. It wasn't just transportation, it was an extension of the owner. And during this time, Japan became known for its famous races. Mountains at Midnight, Wangan Expressway. There were many informal competitions too. Some were even hidden, if not most of them. It was a lot of adrenaline for just one country. These cars are legends today because they were very special back then. It was the future on wheels. This part here is something out of this world. And if you're into the automotive world, Japan was definitely the place to be at that time. And then there was the issue of Japanese fashion at the time. Do you know what Japanese fashion was like in the 80s or 90s? Practically non-existent. There weren't many rules. You had, for example, the Ganguro girls, or Gyaru. Those girls with artificially tanned skin, bleached hair, white makeup, very colorful accessories. Kind of strange, right? But it was intentional. This was a movement of rebellion. They emerged precisely during this time, saying things like, "I want to be who I want to be." In that sense of rebelling against the rules. You also had the visual K-bands that took this to the extreme. Men with more elaborate makeup than any woman. Clothes that mixed gothic, punk, rock, hairstyles that defied gravity. It was a very crazy thing. On the other side, you also had the kawaii culture, the Lolita fashion girls who dressed like dolls, the cute culture but elevated to an art form. And the craziest part was that almost no one judged it. You dressed how you wanted, and the Japanese society, despite being known for being very strict and everything, simply accepted it. At least in the younger areas of Japan, Harajuku was a laboratory for this type of person. It was where these fashion trends were born. You have magazines from the time, from the early 2000s, like the magazine Fruits, which documented all this. It was a runway of people in completely different styles. Although Japan still maintains a certain freedom today, and many people don't care much about what you wear at that time. This was a very drastic change. It was a real break with the system. Going shopping at that time was a weekend outing. It was also a family event. In many cases, the department stores were palaces, several floors, each dedicated to something different. Clothes, electronics, toys, food, art. You weren't just a customer, you were a guest. Every product was presented with great care, and each district of Japan had its own personality. Akihabara, for technology, Shibuya, for younger people, Ginza, for luxury, Shinjuku, for practically everything. Imported products that were once impossible were now accessible. European luxury brands were opening stores in Japan. The whole world was coming to Japan, and Japan had the money to buy efficient and comfortable transportation. The Japanese bullet train wasn't new in the 80s, but it was certainly at its peak. Going from Tokyo to Osaka in 3 hours seemed like magic. The Tokyo subway was constantly expanding. New lines were being created, new stations, much more connectivity. The city was growing, and the infrastructure was keeping up with all of this. And there was a sense of security, mobility, was freedom, and Japan was perfecting this every day, communities and festivals. But behind all this modernity that we're talking about throughout the video, there was something that remained alive, the Matsuri, the neighborhood festivals, centuries-old traditions, happening in the middle of a futuristic metropolis. And everyone participated: yakisoba, takoyaki, cotton candy, fishing games, taiko drums echoing. You had 3 whole generations together, celebrating a mutual respect. the young with colored hair helping the elderly to cross the street. Technology hadn't killed humanity. There was a pride in being part of that, but it wasn't an aggressive nationalism. It was a feeling that everyone built that together, and it was getting good community at that time still meant something. But you know what really tied it all together? What made it special? The feeling that the future would be better than the present. Japan seemed to be dominating the world economically, technologically, culturally. And it wasn't arrogance. It was confidence in their work. People made long-term plans because they trusted in tomorrow. Companies invested heavily in research because they knew the future would be theirs. The future didn't scare Japan. It excited them. Every new building, every product launched, every song playing on the radio, all pointed upwards. But unfortunately, we know how that story ends, right? And maybe that's why we look back with this strange longing. Maybe the same thing happened with our countries. So why can't we get over the 80s and 90s? It's not just some silly nostalgia. It's not just a cute aesthetic. It's because it feels like there's something real there, a kind of collective energy, an optimism that we don't see anymore. It was a time when things somehow made sense. Hard work was rewarded, community had value, the future held a promise. It's hard not to look at today's world, so individualized, so anxious, uncertain, and not feel that we've lost something very important along the way. The Japan of the 80s and 90s wasn't perfect. It had problems. It had its shadows, just as the 80s and 90s in our countries also did. But there's something there that we can't recreate. The feeling of living in a special moment, of being part of something unique in history. We can't feel that today, and maybe that time will never come back. But we can learn a lot from it. Remember that real connection with people still matters, community matters, and optimism, based on collective action, our work, also matters. Maybe we just haven't reached the right moment yet. The moment when our generation will truly feel special. We'll feel that we are building something new in history. Maybe it's just not our time yet. Thank you for traveling with me to Japan's golden era. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next video.